Before Wu-Tang Clan revolutionized the idea of the hip-hop supergroup, there were crews, tight-knit collectives of MCs, DJs, dancers, and street artists, laying the groundwork in ciphers, battles, and underground clubs. This is the history of those that built hip-hop. This is before Wu-Tang, the collectives that built the culture. Let's get into it. In the South Bronx in the late 1970s, Afrika Bambaataa formed the Universal Zulu Nation, a cultural movement with its own philosophy, symbols, and code of peace. Within it was a formidable b-boy squad, or as most say, breakers. The Zulu Kings, initially known as the Bronx River Organization. The Zulu Kings were one of the first crews to emerge from the Bronx, and they played a crucial role in the shaping of the early aesthetic and artistic styles of breaking. They introduced innovative moves, styles, and their impact on breaking's creativity is undeniable. However, the Universal Zulu Nation wasn't just a b-boy crew. It fostered a fusion of DJs, graffiti artists, and MCs, who would later pioneer the idea of hip-hop as a collective culture. The list of Zulu Nation members is way too long to name, but early members, of course, were Afrika Bambaataa, DJ Jazzy J, and the Soul Sonic Force, all the way up to everybody in native tongues. So the movement was pretty big, and it grew even bigger, worldwide. This was the first time that hip-hop actually felt like a nation, not just a genre or a pointless movement. Unity, style, and message were just as important as skills. So let's talk about a crew that was out to crush everybody.
Crush.
In Harlem and the Bronx, MC crews like the Fantastic Five and the Kool brothers dominated the streets. Not through radio, but through live shows and tapes of these live shows. Now these tapes, especially the early ones, would go on to influence the entire culture for years to come and spark the interest of the art of MCing and DJing for countless artists. The effects of these tapes can still be felt in the culture to this day. The original Kool formed in 1978, and the lineup consisted of founding member DJ Tony Tone, as well as Supreme Easy, AD, DJ Charlie Chase, Whipper Whip, Mr. T, and Dada Rock, and soon Grandmaster Caz. Eventually, Whipper Whip and Dada Rock would leave the Kool brothers and join DJ Grand Wizard Theodore and the Fantastic Five, which they just considered to be a more established group. Understandable, and as time went on, the Kool star member wound up being Grandmaster Caz. His skills in whatever element he performed were just head and shoulders above the rest. See, Grandmaster Caz grew up 2 blocks from DJ Kool Herc, and at only 13 years old, he would encounter rap for the first time in 1973 at a Kool Herc block party. Not long after, he would team up with the man who is credited as the first Latino DJ in hip-hop, DJ Disco Wiz. At this point, Caz was going by Casanova Fly, and together with Disco Wiz, they formed one of the first DJ crews, the Mighty Force. It was clear that Caz was a team player and he worked well within a crew. Caz is also credited as being the first rapper to DJ and MC simultaneously. The man did a lot and he was barely 22 years old. The battle between these crews was legendary, especially the July 3rd, 1981 showdown between the Fantastic Five and the Kool brothers at Harlem World.
What's up, fly guy? Hello, fly girl. It's the big throwdown. That's Harlem World. The Kool Boys versus Fantastic Five. And they ain't no comp. We'll eat them alive. Because we're the best. And when it comes to rapping, and like the fly said, it was bound to happen. Well, the time has come. And let the battle begin. And let the crowd be the judge. All fool win. Because we don't need tuxedos.
While Kool run the crowd, Fantastic Five won the $1,000 prize. Street Legend versus Judge Decision. Sound familiar? These crews showed us that a group wasn't just a novelty. It was a movement with its own style, identity, and fan base. However, the next crew of MCs were coming for crowns, and they weren't playing.
But I know that y'all just better rock this at the drop of a dime, baby.
Fast forward a couple years to Queens, New York. A young DJ by the name of Marley Marl. If you'd like me to do a whole video on Marley, comment below. He was DJing for the first all-hip-hop program show, Mr. Magic's Rap Attack, on WBLS in New York. While taking the music to the masses, Marley will wind up establishing a powerhouse of lyrical talent under the name The Juice Crew. The Juice Crew was big and they were strong. They consisted of Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, rest in peace Biz, Kool G Rap and DJ Polo, MC Shan, Roxanne Shante, Craig G, Master Ace, Granddaddy IU, Intelligent Hoodlum, later known as Tragedy Gaddafi. And if I'm forgetting anyone else, leave it down in the comments. The Juice Crew introduced the world to the first posse cut on wax, the Symphony.
Now who's first up to bat? Listen closely, so your attention's undivided.
However, they were more than just that one track. They were about pushing lyrical boundaries. They were some of the dopest MCs to enter the fastly expanding genre to date. They were flyer than most, they were loyal to their squad, all had differing personalities as well as some of the biggest egos in the game. However, they had the skills to back up these egos. They were also at the center of one of hip-hop's true first on-vinyl rap beefs. The Bridge Wars was sparked by MC Shan's classic song, The Bridge. This song blew up fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got MC Shan and Molly Mall in the house tonight.
The Bridge praised their much-loved borough as well as some of the borough's earliest crews. The song was taken to imply that hip-hop started out in Queensbridge when actually nowhere in the song does MC Shan actually say this. KRS-One, actually being a South Bronx MC, took this misinterpreted claim and wound up releasing his explosive response and one of my personal favorite diss tracks of all time, The Bridge Is Over.
That's it. The bridge is over. The bridge is over. Bye-bye. The bridge is over. The bridge is over.
The Juice Crew was a rare breed of collective artists that introduced technical skill and rivalry as group weapons, laying the blueprint for future crews like Wu-Tang to master in the coming years. But yet there was still another set of artists that were about to change the game and stamp their name firmly in the history books of hip-hop. And they will have everyone hanging on to their every word.
Native tongue got rhymes galore.
Now let's move forward a couple years to another crew that changed the game. Not with aggression, but with positivity and Afrocentric style. Of course, we're talking about the Native Tongues.
And see what we can catch. We met. Won't be needed unless.
The Native Tongues consisted of the Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, A Tribe Called Quest, Queen Latifah, Black Sheep, Moni Love, Chi Ali, and one of my favorite crews of all time, the Beatnuts. What's up, Juju? And although not official members, leaders of the new school would wave the Native Tongues flag proudly. Although not an official label or contract-bound group, they were bounded by spirit. Songs like Buddy, Scenario brought collaboration to a whole new level. And their influence will reverberate through artists like Common, Slum Village, Kanye West, Tyler the Creator, Pharrell Williams, even Kendrick Lamar. The name Native Tongues was actually taken from the song African Cry from New Birth's 1972 album, Coming Together.
Took away our native tongue.
While promoting their debut single Plug Tunin', De La Soul were doing a show in Boston with the Jungle Brothers. Each highly respected each other and realized how like-minded they were. They pushed all boundaries as well as bringing a new sound to the culture. Obscure sampling, new rhyme patterns, new topics. The Native Tongues music was like a breath of fresh air, and us fans were there at every turn. So after returning to New York, De La Soul invited the Jungle Brothers to a session. That session just so happened to be the session in which Buddy was being recorded. They weren't doing it for money. It wasn't a business move. It was just a room full of top-notch, like-minded artists bouncing ideas off each other and having a ball while doing it. Now, hip-hop at the time was about individualism. However, the Native Tongues showed that artists can unite and create magic. Now, although we look at the Native Tongues as this huge movement, they really only released one song, De La Soul's Buddy. Well, two if you want to include Scenario. We were all waiting for more output, a Native Tongues album, but besides a few features here and there on each other's songs, a Native Tongues album just wasn't in the cards. Even after Pasta News said,
That's why the Native Tongues has officially been reinstated.
by the time Wu-Tang emerged in 1992, the idea of a collective wasn't new, but what made them different was business savvy and mythology. RZA studied these early groups. He took the best parts from the Zulu Nation, unity and symbolism, from the Juice Crew, lyrical excellence, from Native Tongues, collaboration without conformity. Wu-Tang was an evolution that had been building for years. So next time someone calls Wu-Tang the first hip-hop collective, remember, they weren't the beginning, but they were the culmination. Respect to all the architects, know the lineage, and if you're with me this far, I thank you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, do everything along here. It really helps us small channels out. So if you want another dope video, click this right here. And as usual, I don't know if I deserve your support, but I definitely appreciate it. And until next video, salute.